The great halls of the Observer Council stood quiet as Elder Gray moved slowly toward the center platform. His four-fingered hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the simple blue robe that marked his position as chief scientist. For 300 cycles, the observers had maintained their watch of the stars, sending signals into the darkness. For 300 cycles, no answer had come. The universe is empty, many now believed. We are alone. Elder Gray did not share this view, but after so many years of silence, even he had begun to doubt. The council chambers, carved from the pale stone of their homeworld's largest mountain, held 30 of the wisest observers. Today, they gathered for what most considered a mere formality, the annual report on deep space signals. Esteemed council, Elder Gray began, his voice thin with age, I bring the 300th report of our deep space listening program. Council Leader White nodded, her eyes half closed as if already bored. Proceed, Elder. Though I expect this report resembles the last 50 you have delivered. A small ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Elder Gray ignored it. Our arrays have detected nothing of note from neighboring systems, he continued, following the traditional words. No signals of intelligent origin have been... Oh, soft chime interrupted him. The small device at his wrist pulsed with blue light, a signal from the observatory. Elder Gray paused, confused. The observatory staff knew better than to interrupt a council meeting. Is there a problem, Elder? Asked Council Leader White. I am not certain, Elder Gray replied, touching the device. A simple message appeared. Return immediately. Anomaly detected. The council members shifted in their seats, unused to disruptions of any kind. The observers valued order above all else. It seems I must cut this report short, Elder Gray said. The observatory requires my attention. What could possibly be so urgent? Asked Council Member Green, his voice sharp with annoyance. Another comet? A solar flare? Elder Gray shook his head. I do not know, but I intend to find out. The observatory sat atop the highest peak of the mountain range, its white domes gleaming in the light of their yellow sun. By the time Elder Gray arrived, the main control room buzzed with activity, something he had not seen in decades. What is happening? He demanded as he entered. Young observer Tech Brown rushed forward, his eyes wide with excitement. Elder, we detected something entering the outer reaches of our system. Something artificial. Elder Gray's hearts beat faster. Show me. Tech Brown led him to the main display, where a blurry image showed a distant object moving at impossible speed. Data streams filled the surrounding screens, numbers and calculations that made no sense. This cannot be right, Elder Gray muttered, adjusting the display settings himself. Nothing can travel at these speeds. The energy requirements would be impossible by our understanding, finished Tech Brown. Yet there it is. Elder Gray stared at the readings. The object was slowing now, its trajectory bringing it toward the fourth planet of their system, a small colony established 50 cycles ago. Have you contacted the colony? He asked. Tech Purple, the communications specialist, nodded quickly. Yes, Elder, they report visual confirmation. It's a ship of some kind, but unlike anything in our records. A ship? Elder Gray's voice dropped to a whisper. From where? Unknown, said Tech Purple. But it appears damaged. Its course is erratic and it's emitting radiation patterns we've never seen before. Elder Gray studied the image as the computer enhanced it. The ship was indeed like nothing the observers had ever built. Where observer vessels were smooth and round, this craft was angular with strange protrusions and what appeared to be external engines, a design the observers had abandoned centuries ago as inefficient. It's heading directly toward Colony 4, said Tech Brown. At its current speed, it will reach them in 6 hours. Have they tried communicating with it? Elder Gray asked. Yes, Tech Purple replied. They've sent standard greeting signals on all frequencies, no response. Elder Gray stood silent for a long moment. In all their history, the observers had never encountered another spacefaring species. Their scientists had calculated the odds as infinitesimally small, so small that most had concluded it was impossible. Their own ventures into space had been cautious, methodical. They had established colonies on the two nearest planets, but had never attempted to leave their star system. The energy requirements were too great, the distances too vast, yet here was proof that someone, something, had done what they thought impossible. "Alert the Defense Ministry," Elder Gray finally said, "and prepare my ship. I'm going to Colony 4. Tech Brown looked alarmed. "Elder, at your age the journey might be—" "I have waited 300 cycles for this moment," Elder Gray interrupted. "I will not miss it because of old bones." Colony 4 was the smallest of the observer outposts, home to just 2,000 colonists who maintained the mining operations on the small rocky planet. Observer Blue, the colony administrator, had never expected anything exciting to happen during his assignment. Colony 4 was where careers went to die quietly. Now he stood in the colony's small observation dome, watching the alien ship grow larger in the view screen. "Have the shelters been prepared?" he asked his assistant. "Yes, Administrator," replied Assistant Orange. "All colonists have been moved to the underground facilities as ordered." "Good." Observer Blue nodded. "And the defense systems?" Assistant Orange hesitated. "They're operational, sir. But they were designed to deflect asteroids, not combat. An unknown vessel. Let us hope we don't need them at all," Observer Blue said quietly. The ship was clearly visible now, even to the naked eye, a dark shape against the stars, trailing what looked like smoke or vapor. Its surface was scorched in places, and parts of it appeared to be breaking away as it entered the thin atmosphere of Colony 4. "It's going to crash," Assistant Orange realized aloud. "Right here." Observer Blue touched the communication panel. "Attention, unknown vessel. You are on collision course with our colony. Please adjust your trajectory if possible. We are sending navigation data now." No response came, but the ship's path seemed to shift slightly, not enough to avoid impact entirely, but enough to suggest some control remained. "They're trying to land," Observer Blue said. "Alert the emergency teams. Prepare for whatever comes next." The alien ship disappeared behind the rocky ridge to the east of the colony. Moments later, the ground shook as a tremendous boom echoed across the landscape. A plume of dust rose into the sky. Observer Blue took a deep breath. "And now we wait." But they didn't wait long. Just minutes after the crash, their sensors detected movement from the ship. Something was emerging. "Magnify," ordered Observer Blue. The screen showed a figure climbing from a hatch in the damaged vessel. It stood on two legs like the observers, but its proportions were all wrong, the limbs too long, the head too small. It wore some kind of protective suit, but even through it, Observer Blue could tell this creature was nothing like his people. The figure turned, seeming to look directly at the colony's cameras. Then it raised a hand in what might have been a greeting, or a warning. "Elder Gray's ship will arrive in 3 hours," Assistant Orange said quietly. "Let's hope that's soon enough," replied Observer Blue, watching as a second figure emerged from the crashed ship. "Because after 300 cycles of silence, it seems we are no longer alone." And as if to emphasize this point, a third figure appeared, carrying what was unmistakably a weapon. Captain James Reed knew they were in trouble the moment the Pathfinder exited the jump. The ship shuddered violently, emergency lights bathing the bridge in angry red. Warning klaxons blared as system after system reported critical failures. "Status. Report," he shouted over the noise, gripping his command chair as another tremor rocked the vessel. Engineer Jane Wilson's fingers flew across her console, her face grim in the emergency lighting. "The experimental drive overloaded during the jump, Captain. We're venting plasma from the main reactor and the containment field is failing." "Can you stabilize it?" Jane shook her head. "Not without shutting down completely for repairs. And if we do that, we lose life support," Reed finished for her. "Options?" Navigator Tom looked up from his own displays, face pale but voice steady. "Sir, we've emerged near an uncharted star system. There's a planet within range. Small, rocky, but it has an atmosphere. Thin, but breathable." "Any signs of civilization?" Reed asked, already knowing they had no choice. The Pathfinder, humanity's most advanced deep space vessel, was dying around them. Tom adjusted his scanner. I'm picking up... Wait. That can't be right. He looked up, eyes wide. Captain, I'm detecting artificial structures and energy signatures. There's someone down there. A strange silence fell over the bridge, drowning out even the alarms for a moment. Humanity had spent centuries searching for intelligent life among the stars. They had found microbes, simple organisms, the remnants of ancient civilizations long turned to dust. But never, not once, had they found another spacefaring species. Until now, when they were about to crash right into them. Well, Reed said, breaking the silence. This isn't how first contact was supposed to go. The ship lurched again, more violently this time. A support beam broke loose from the ceiling, crashing down mere inches from the navigation console. We're losing structural integrity, Jane reported. Captain, we need to land, now. Reed nodded, making the hardest decision of his career. Tom, plot us a course away from any population centers. Try to put us down somewhere isolated. Jane, divert all remaining power to the landing thrusters and life support, and someone try to raise whoever's down there on all frequencies. Let them know we come in peace and that we're really sorry about this. Communications Officer Dan tapped frantically at his console. Sending standard greeting packages on all bands, sir. No response yet. Reed stood, steadying himself against his chair. All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for emergency landing procedures. This is not a drill. Throughout the ship, the 23 crew members of the Pathfinder, scientists, engineers and explorers all, strapped themselves into crash positions. They had trained for this, but training never captured the bone-deep terror of a ship breaking apart around you. In the medical bay, Dr. Mark secured his patients, 2 engineers injured when the drive first malfunctioned, and whispered a quick prayer. In the science lab, biologist Lisa frantically backed up their research data, knowing they might lose everything. In engineering, Chief Mechanic Ben worked desperately to keep the engines functioning just long enough to land. On the bridge, Reed watched as the small planet grew larger in the view screen. They were committed now. I'm detecting signals from the surface, Dan reported. They're trying to communicate. Send everything we've got, Reed ordered. First contact protocols, translation matrices, the works. The ship entered the planet's thin atmosphere, fire blooming around the hull as friction heated the metal. The Pathfinder was never designed for atmospheric entry without proper preparation, and it showed. Panels tore free, spiraling away into the alien sky. Brace for impact, Reed shouted as the ground rushed up to meet them. The Pathfinder hit hard, skidding across rocky terrain. Metal screamed as the hull scraped against stone. The bridge view screen shattered. Emergency foam deployed throughout the ship, cushioning the crew as the vessel finally ground to a halt. For a long moment, there was only silence and darkness. Then, one by one, emergency systems came back online. Reed coughed, wiping blood from a cut on his forehead. Sound off. Around him, his bridge. Crew responded, battered but alive. Reed hit the ship-wide comm. All sections report. The reports came in slowly. 3 more injured, 1 seriously. Multiple hull breaches. The experimental drive had finally given up completely, leaking radiation into the engine room, which had automatically sealed itself. Jane, what's our situation with that radiation? Reed asked, helping Dan out from under a fallen console. Jane checked her handheld scanner, frowning. It's not like anything I've seen before, Captain. The jump drive creates exotic particles as a byproduct. They're contained in normal operation, but now... She looked up. We need to seal off that section completely, and we should warn our new neighbors. We don't know how these particles might affect them. Reed nodded. Dan, keep trying to establish communication. Tom, what's our location relative to their settlement? Tom had managed to get a portable scanner working. About 5 kilometers east of what looks like a small colony, sir. Maybe 2,000 inhabitants based on energy signatures. All right. Reed surveyed the ruins of his bridge, making another difficult decision. I need a team to assess the exterior damage. Volunteers? Jane, Tom, and Security Officer Mac all stepped forward. Reed nodded, unsurprised. Suit up. Full environmental gear. We don't know what's out there. Observer Blue watched the colony's screens intently as three figures emerged from the crashed alien vessel. They wore bulky suits that covered them completely, with transparent faceplates that revealed glimpses of their strange features. They carried tools and what might be weapons. They're coming this way, Assistant Orange reported nervously. Are the defense systems ready? Observer Blue asked. Yes, Administrator. But I must remind you that Elder Gray's instructions were clear. No hostile action unless directly threatened. Observer Blue nodded reluctantly. Keep the systems on standby, and continue monitoring that radiation. What do we know about it? Tech Purple consulted her readings. It's unlike anything in our database, Administrator. It seems to be some form of exotic particle emission, highly energetic. Our sensors indicate it's slowly spreading from the crash site. Is it dangerous? Unknown, Tech Purple admitted. But I would recommend caution. Our biology may not be adapted to such exposure. Observer Blue sighed, feeling the weight of 300 cycles of history on his shoulders. The observers had always believed they were alone in the universe. Their society, their science, their very philosophy was built on that belief. And now, without warning, everything had changed. Administrator, called Tech Green from the communication station. I'm receiving a signal from the aliens. I think they're trying to communicate. Put it on screen, Observer Blue ordered. The main display filled with strange symbols and diagrams, mathematical equations, atomic structures, simple drawings of bipedal figures. The message repeated, changing slightly each time as if the aliens were trying different approaches. They're intelligent, Observer Blue murmured. Clearly advanced. Their ship may be damaged, but the technology to travel between stars. You're trailed off, contemplating the implications. Administrator, Assistant Orange said urgently. The radiation from their ship, it's increasing, and our preliminary analysis suggests it could be harmful to our people. Observer Blue stared at the screen showing the three alien figures now making their way slowly toward the colony. They moved carefully, stopping often to take readings or examine the environment. They did not move like invaders, but like explorers. Cautious, curious. Alert the medical team to prepare for possible radiation exposure, he decided, and send out a small scout team to intercept these aliens before they reach the colony. No weapons visible, but keep them ready. I want to know what we're dealing with before Elder Gray arrives. As the orders were carried out, Observer Blue couldn't help but wonder what these strange beings wanted, and why they had come here of all places. After centuries of searching the stars and finding nothing, the universe had suddenly delivered aliens right to their doorstep, in the most dramatic way possible. Let us hope, he said quietly to himself, that their crash was an accident, and not the beginning of something worse. Outside under the alien sky, Captain Reed and his team made their way slowly toward the colony, carrying a makeshift white flag, a universal symbol of peace they hoped would transcend the stars. Part 3. First Contact. The rocky terrain crunched beneath Captain Reed's boots as he led his small team toward the alien colony. The planet's gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's, giving each step a subtle bounce that would take time to adjust to. Above them, the sky held an odd greenish tint, with the colony's parent star shining yellow through thin clouds. Radiation levels? Reed asked, not taking his eyes off the path ahead. Jane checked her scanner. Still spreading from the ship, Captain. The exotic particles are behaving strangely in this atmosphere. They're dispersing faster than I calculated. Reed nodded grimly. Their first act upon meeting an alien civilization would be to warn them about the dangerous radiation leaking from their crashed ship. Not exactly the triumphant first contact humanity had dreamed of. Movement ahead, Security Officer Mack announced, quietly, raising his hand. About half a kilometer. Reed squinted through his helmet visor. Several figures were approaching from the direction of the colony. They moved with a careful grace, and even at this distance their alien nature was obvious. Remember, Reed said to his team, no sudden movements. Keep your hands visible. Follow first contact protocols. Those protocols didn't exactly plan for crash into their planet and contaminate it with exotic radiation, Tom muttered. We improvise, Reed replied simply. As the two groups drew closer, Reed got his first clear look at the aliens. They stood slightly shorter than humans, with slim bodies covered in pale, smooth skin that shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Their faces featured large, almond-shaped eyes, two sets of them, one above the other, and small mouths with no visible nose. They wore simple, functional clothing in muted colors, and carried what appeared to be scientific instruments rather than weapons. Reed stopped about 20 meters from the alien group and slowly raised the white flag they had fashioned from a piece of medical cloth, universal symbol of peace, he said clearly, knowing his suit's external speakers would project his voice. Though I realize it might not be so universal after all. The alien stopped as well. One of them, wearing blue garments that seemed more elaborate than the others, stepped forward slightly. It raised a hand with 4 long fingers in what might have been their own greeting. Now what? Tom whispered. Now, said Reed. We try to communicate. He turned to Jane. You're our best shot at this. Ready to make history? Jane nodded, stepping forward with a small device in her hand. The universal translator was a work in progress not yet fully tested, but it was all they had. She activated the device, which projected a simple holographic display between the two groups. Mathematical equations appeared first, basic arithmetic, then progressing to algebra, geometry, and calculus. Numbers were thought to be universal. Mathematics, the most likely common ground between different intelligent species. The alien in blue watched intently, then produced its own device. A moment later, their hologram joined Jane's, the equations responding to hers, confirming, correcting, expanding. A silent conversation in the language of mathematics. It's working, Jane whispered, excitement clear in her voice. Slowly, the holograms shifted from pure mathematics to simple pictures, a star, a planet, basic atomic structures. With each exchange, the communication grew more complex. Jane added simple human figures to her projection. The alien responded with figures of their own kind. Reed felt a profound sense of awe. After centuries of searching the stars, humanity was finally speaking with another intelligent species. Despite their crash landing, despite the danger they had inadvertently brought with them, this moment was nothing short of miraculous. The exchange continued for nearly an hour, the two sides gradually building a rudimentary shared language. Eventually, Jane turned to Reed. I think we can try actual communication now, Captain. It won't be perfect, but the translator has enough to work with. Reed nodded and stepped forward. My name is James Reed. We are humans from the planet Earth. He gestured to his chest, then toward the sky in the direction they had come from, though Earth was far too distant to see. The translator converted his words into a series of symbols and sounds. After a moment, the alien in blue responded. The translator took several seconds to process, then produced, I am Observer Blue. We are observers. This is Colony 4. Reed couldn't help the smile that spread across his face. First words exchanged between two intelligent species. Whatever happened next, this moment would be remembered forever. We apologize for our arrival, Reed continued. Our ship was damaged. The crash was not intentional. A longer pause as the translator worked, then. We have many questions. Why have you come to our system? Exploration, Reed answered truthfully. We seek knowledge and peaceful contact with other intelligent life. Observer Blue seemed to consider this, its 4 eyes blinking in an odd pattern. Your ship leaks dangerous energy. Our sensors detect it spreading. Reed nodded gravely. Yes, that's one reason we came to find you. The radiation from our ship could be harmful. Your people should stay away from the crash site. As the translator conveyed this message, the aliens conferred among themselves, their voices soft and melodic. Finally, Observer Blue responded. We have detected this danger. Our colony is preparing. We can help, Jane interjected. We understand this radiation. It comes from our drive system. technology were still developing. The translator struggled with some of these concepts, but Observer Blue seemed to grasp the meaning. You travel between stars with unfinished technology? There was something in the alien's response that the translator couldn't quite capture. Perhaps surprise or even disapproval. We're explorers, Reed said simply. Sometimes that means taking risks. Before Observer Blue could respond, one of the other aliens approached urgently, speaking rapidly. The translator couldn't keep up, but the alarm was clear in the alien's body language. Observer Blue turned back to the humans. A storm approaches. Atmospheric disturbance. Very dangerous on this planet. You must return to your ship. Reed glanced at the sky. Dark clouds were indeed gathering on the horizon, moving with surprising speed. Our ship is damaged, he explained. It won't provide adequate shelter. Another quick conference among the aliens. Observer Blue seemed to be arguing with one of the others, a taller individual wearing gray. Finally, Observer Blue turned back. To the humans, you will come to our colony, for shelter only. When storm passes, you return to your ship. Reed nodded gratefully. Thank you, but I should warn you. We can't leave our injured crew members behind, and we need to contain the radiation leaking from our ship. The translator conveyed this, leading to another heated discussion among the aliens. Finally, Observer Blue responded. Send your people to help your injured. We will send our scientists to study the radiation. Together, we will find solution. 2 hours later, storm winds howled outside the colony's protective dome. Inside, humans and observers worked side by side in an uneasy alliance. Dr. Mark treated the injured crew members while observer medical personnel watched with fascination. In another section, Jane worked with observer scientists, trying to explain the exotic particles leaking from the Pathfinder's damaged drive. Observer, Elder Gray had arrived just as the storm hit, his small ship barely making it safely to the landing pad. Now he stood with Captain Reed and Observer Blue, watching the collaborative efforts. In 300 cycles, Elder Gray said through the increasingly accurate translator, we have believed ourselves alone. We sent signals to the stars. No answer came. We were looking too, Reed replied. All this time we were both searching. Yet you found us by accident, Elder Gray noted, his upper eyes blinking in what Reed was beginning to recognize as amusement. Sometimes the greatest discoveries happen that way, Reed said with a slight smile. Outside, the storm intensified. The colony's structures groaned under the assault of wind and debris. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. Eastern shield failing, announced an observer technician. Storm damage to generator. Observer Blue moved quickly to a control panel. Divert power from secondary systems. Not enough, the technician replied. Shield will fail in minutes. Eastern quadrant will be exposed. Reed exchanged glances with Jane, who had looked up from her work with the observer scientists. We can help, Reed said firmly. The Pathfinder's emergency generators are still functional. We use them for our landing thrusters. Observer Blue's 4 eyes focused on Reed. Your technology caused this danger. The radiation is a problem we'll solve. Reed interrupted. But right now your people need our help. Let us give it. After a moment's hesitation, Observer Blue nodded. Very well. Reed turned to his crew. Mac, Tom, get back to the ship. Salvage the emergency generators and whatever tools you need. Move fast. As the humans rushed to help, Elder Gray moved beside Observer Blue. They are strange creatures, the Elder observed quietly. Reckless, perhaps, but brave. Observer Blue watched as the humans organized themselves with remarkable efficiency, already adapting to the crisis. Yes, he agreed. Dangerous, but perhaps useful allies. Outside, the storm raged on, heedless of the historic cooperation taking place beneath its fury. Morning broke over Colony 4, revealing the storm's aftermath. Debris littered the landscape around the settlement, but the colony itself stood intact, thanks to the combined efforts of humans and observers. The Pathfinder's emergency generators, hastily integrated with the colony's power grid, had kept the eastern shield functioning throughout the night. In the colony's main hall, Captain Reed sat across from Elder Gray and Observer Blue. The translator device between them had been improved overnight, with Jane and the observer scientists working tirelessly to expand its vocabulary. Your quick action saved many lives, Elder Gray acknowledged, his four eyes studying Reed with open curiosity. The eastern quadrant houses our agricultural systems. Without them, the colony would face food shortages. Reed nodded. We're glad we could help, and we appreciate the shelter for our injured crew. A fair exchange, Observer Blue said. But now we must discuss the greater problem. Reed knew what was coming. The radiation from our ship. Yes. Elder Gray leaned forward, slightly. Our scientists have studied the readings. These exotic particles are unlike anything in our knowledge. They are spreading through our atmosphere, and early tests suggest they may be harmful to our biology. We're working on containment solutions, Reed assured them. Engineer Jane and Chief Mechanic Ben believe they can modify our ship's containment fields to capture the leaked particles. Your engineer Jane has shared much about your technology, Elder Gray said. It is surprising. Reed raised an eyebrow. Surprising how? Elder Gray seemed to choose his words carefully. Your approach to space travel is unlike ours. You use great energy, brute force methods. We would consider many of your systems dangerously unstable. Yet you never left your star system, Reed pointed out, while we've explored dozens. At what cost? Observer Blue interjected. Your ship is severely damaged, your crew injured, and now our colony faces contamination. Reed couldn't argue with that assessment. Our methods may seem reckless to you, but humanity has always been willing to take risks to explore, to discover. He paused. It's how we found you. Before the conversation could continue, the door slid open and Jane entered, accompanied by an observer scientist in purple garments. Captain, Jane said, excitement clear in her voice. We've made a breakthrough with the containment problem. Reed gestured for her to continue. Observer Tech Purple here has theoretical models for particle containment that we never considered, Jane explained. They're based on completely different physics principles than what we use. And while the observers never built actual containment fields this powerful, because we never needed them, Tech Purple added, our energy systems are designed for efficiency, not the power levels your ship requires. Right, Jane continued. But if we combine their theoretical models with our practical engineering, we might be able to contain the radiation, Reed finished, understanding dawning. How soon? We need to build a prototype, Jane said. With the observer's help, maybe 2 days. Elder Gray and Observer Blue exchanged looks. 2 days may be too long, Observer Blue said. Our atmospheric models show the particles will reach critical concentration in the colony within 30 hours. Then we work faster, Reed stated simply. In another part of the colony, Dr. Mark stood in the observer medical facility, fascinated by the technology around him. The observer's medical science was advanced in some ways, primitive in others. Their understanding of genetics far surpassed humanity's, but their surgical techniques were surprisingly limited. You never developed invasive surgery? Mark asked. Tech Green, the lead medical scientist. Rarely needed, Tech Green explained, examining blood samples from the human crew. Our regenerative treatments and genetic therapies prevent most physical injuries or ailments. Mark nodded, watching as Tech Green placed a human blood sample under a scanner. And what have you learned about us? Fascinating biology, Tech Green, said, genuine excitement in their voice. Your cells are both simpler and more complex than ours, less efficient in some ways, remarkably adaptable in others. The observer looked up. Your genetic diversity is extraordinary, almost as if your species was designed to survive anything. Not designed, Mark corrected. Evolved, through countless challenges and near extinctions. Perhaps that explains your approach to space travel, Tech Green mused. You evolved to take risks. The conversation was interrupted by an alarm from one of the medical pods. Inside, one of the injured human engineers was experiencing elevated heart rate and fever. Radiation sickness, Mark said grimly, moving to the pod. I was afraid of this. The exotic particles affect human biology too. Tech Green moved quickly to another pod, where an observer patient was displaying similar symptoms. This observer was part of the first team to approach your ship. The symptoms are different but appear related to the same exposure. Mark studied the readings from both patients. Different symptoms but similar underlying mechanisms. The radiation is attacking cellular functions at the molecular level. Our standard treatments are ineffective, Tech Green reported, frustration evident. Mark thought for a moment. We need to combine our approaches. Your genetic therapies might be adapted to human physiology, and our radiation treatments might help the observers. Tech Green hesitated. Such experimentation would be unprecedented. So is everything about this situation, Mark pointed out. We have 2 patients getting worse by the hour. Are you willing to try? After a brief pause, Tech Green nodded. Yes, let us begin. In the colony's central plaza, a growing crowd of observers gathered, watching the humans with a mixture of curiosity and fear. Among them stood Observer Commander Stone, recently arrived from the Observer homeworld with a security detail. They are dangerous, Commander Stone said to his gathered supporters. Their technology is unstable, their methods reckless, and now they bring contamination to our colony. They also saved the Eastern Quadrant during the storm, one observer pointed out. A problem they helped create, Stone countered. And now Elder Gray and Observer Blue allow them access to our most advanced knowledge? Our medical facilities? This is madness, the crowd murmured, opinions divided. Stone continued, his voice rising. 300 cycles we have searched the stars carefully, methodically. We have developed our technology with precision and safety. Then these humans arrive, crashing into our world with their dangerous ship, their unproven theories. Yet, they've traveled between stars, another observer said. Something we only dreamed of. At what cost? Stone demanded. Look at their ship. Broken, leaking deadly radiation. Is that the future you want for our people? To become like them, throwing ourselves recklessly into space, bringing chaos wherever we go? The debate grew heated, reflecting the growing division among the observers. For centuries, their society had valued caution, calculation, and controlled progress. The humans represented something entirely different, a species that embraced risk, that pushed boundaries even at great cost. Back in the improvised laboratory, Jane worked alongside Tech Purple and several other observer scientists. Components from the Pathfinder had been carefully transported to the colony and integrated with observer technology. Your power systems are remarkably efficient, Jane commented, studying an observer energy cell. We could never achieve this level of miniaturization. Yet your systems produce 10 times the output, Tech Purple replied. We never considered such power levels necessary or safe. Jane nodded, making adjustments to their prototype containment generator. Different approaches to the same problems. You optimize for efficiency and safety. We optimize for power and range. A dangerous approach, Tech Purple observed. Sometimes, Jane admitted, but it's gotten us across the galaxy. A soft chime interrupted their work, a message from the medical facility. Jane read it, her expression brightening. Dr. Mark and Tech Green have developed a treatment for the radiation exposure. It's working on both species. Tech Purple's 4 eyes widened slightly. They combined our medical approaches? Apparently so, Jane said with a smile. And it's working better than either approach alone. Tech Purple was silent for a moment, then returned to the containment prototype with renewed focus. Perhaps there is something to be said for your human methods after all. As they worked, neither noticed Commander Stone watching from the laboratory entrance, his posture rigid with disapproval. The security commander turned away, his mind made up. These humans and their dangerous innovations could not be allowed. To influence observer society, something would have to be done. Outside the colony, the exotic particle concentration continued to rise, carried on the winds toward the larger settlements beyond. The containment field generator hummed to life, its blue glow illuminating the faces of humans and observers gathered in the colony's central chamber. Jane stepped back from the control panel, exchanging a nod with Tech Purple. After 3 days of nonstop work, their creation, a hybrid of human power systems and observer containment theory, was operational. Particle concentration is decreasing in the immediate area, Tech Purple announced, monitoring the readings. The field is working. A collective sigh of relief passed through the room. Captain Reed approached the device, studying its construction with appreciation. Observer design elegance combined with human engineering created something neither species could have built alone. How long until the radiation levels are safe? Elder Gray asked. Jane checked her calculations. At current rate, about 28 hours for the colony, but we'll need to expand the field's range to cover the crash site and surrounding areas. We've prepared transport to move additional generators to strategic locations, Observer Blue added. Within 3 days, the threat should be neutralized. Reed nodded, satisfied. It wasn't the smoothest first contact in history, but they were making it work. The injured crew members were recovering thanks to the combined medical treatments, and the radiation problem was being solved. The moment of triumph was short-lived. A colony-wide alarm suddenly blared, screens throughout the chamber flashing with urgent warnings. What now? Reed asked, moving to the central display. Observer Blue accessed the colony's sensor network, expression growing grave. Multiple objects, entering our atmosphere, not natural meteors, their descent is controlled. The screen showed several bright points of light streaking through the greenish sky, heading directly toward the colony. Are they yours? Elder Gray asked Reed. Reed shook his head. The Pathfinder was a solo mission. No other human ships could have reached this system yet. Then who? Observer Blue began, but was interrupted as Commander Stone entered the chamber, flanked by security personnel. I've taken command of colony defenses, Stone announced. These are the ancient watchers returning. Elder Gray's 4 eyes widened in shock. The Watchers? But they're just legends, stories from before our recorded history. Not legends, Stone replied grimly. While you've been collaborating with these humans, our deep space array detected signals from the approaching crafts. They match fragments found in our oldest archives, the warnings left by our ancestors. The screens updated to show the objects more clearly as they entered lower atmosphere. Unlike the angular human ship or the smooth observer vessels, these were asymmetrical, organic-looking craft that seemed to pulse with internal light. The ancient texts speak of them, Stone continued. Entities that feed on energy, particularly the kind of exotic energy these humans have leaked into our atmosphere. Reed and Jane exchanged concerned looks. The drive radiation acted as a beacon, Jane realized. It drew them here. Precisely, Stone said, his tone accusing. Your reckless technology has brought doom upon us all. The Watchers were dormant, for millennia, until you woke them. Before Reed could respond, the colony shuddered as something impacted nearby. Warning lights flashed across the displays. They've landed, Tech Purple reported. 3 kilometers from the colony. They're moving this way. Observer Blue turned to Stone. Activate the defense systems. Already done, Stone replied. But they were designed to deflect meteors and space debris against intelligent attackers. He left the implication hanging. Reed stepped forward. Let us help. The Pathfinder has defensive capabilities. We can... You've done enough. Stone cut him off. Your presence, your technology, caused this threat. Elder Gray raised a hand, silencing the argument. Commander Stone, now is not the time for blame. If these truly are the ancient Watchers returning, we need every advantage. He turned to Reed. Captain, what can your ship offer? Reed didn't hesitate. Our weapon systems are damaged but salvageable. We have energy weapons designed for asteroid mining that can be repurposed. And our sensors might give us better information about what we're facing. Elder Gray nodded. Commander Stone, work with the humans. Observer Blue, Prepare the colony for possible evacuation. Stone looked ready to protest but gave a curt nod instead. Under protest. Noted. Elder Gray replied dryly. Now move. 2 hours later, Reed stood with Jane, Mac, and Commander Stone on a ridge overlooking the approaching threat. Through binoculars, they could see the intruders, tall, shifting figures that seemed to waver between solid and gaseous states. They moved with purpose toward the colony, leaving withered vegetation in their wake. Energy vampires, Jane murmured, scanning them with a modified sensor. They're absorbing all forms of energy from their surroundings, heat, electrical, biological. The legends say they consumed entire worlds in ancient times, Stone said, until our ancestors developed technology to drive them back into deep space. Technology we've lost, Reed noted. Stone's expression hardened. Because we believed the threat was gone forever, we turned to peaceful pursuits, scientific exploration. Well, now they're back, Mac said practically, and we need to deal with them. Reed lowered his binoculars. How many defense satellites does the colony have? 12, Stone replied. Basic deflector shields, minimal offensive capabilities. If we could retrofit them with components from the Pathfinder's weapon systems, Reed began. Jane was already calculating. It's possible. We'd need to boost the power and reprogram the targeting systems. That would take days, Stone objected. We have hours at most. Reed smiled grimly. That's where human ingenuity comes, and we're good at impossible deadlines. Back at the colony, controlled chaos reigned as humans and observers worked together. The Pathfinder's weapon systems, designed to pulverize asteroids for mining operations, were carefully dismantled and transported to the colony's satellite control center. Dr. Mark and Tech Green coordinated medical preparations, expecting casualties. Ben worked with observer engineers to boost the colony's shield capacity. Even the injured crew members contributed, advising on technical matters from their recovery beds. In the satellite control center, Jane worked feverishly alongside Tech, Purple, reconfiguring observer satellites to accommodate human weapons technology. Your code is elegant, Jane commented, studying the observer programming. But too rigid. We need to make it more adaptable. Adaptability creates vulnerabilities, Tech Purple replied. In normal circumstances, maybe, Jane conceded. But right now we need systems that can respond to the unexpected. Nearby, Reed and Stone monitored the approaching entities, now less than an hour from the colony's perimeter. There's something you should know, Reed said quietly. Your elder. Gray asked me earlier about our mission, why we came here. Stone's eyes narrowed. And? The truth is we were testing an experimental jump drive, a way to travel vast distances instantly. That's what created the exotic radiation when it malfunctioned. So you were using untested technology, Stone said accusingly. Gambling with forces you barely understand. Reed didn't deny it. Yes. That's how humanity has always advanced. We take risks. Sometimes they pay off. Sometimes... He gestured at their current situation. Stone was silent for a moment. My people would never approach space travel that way. We might never have reached other stars, and we might never have created a containment field as elegant as the one we built together, Reed countered. Different approaches, Commander, both with their strengths. Their conversation was interrupted by Jane's excited voice. We're ready. The satellites are reconfigured. On the main screen, 12 points of light represented the defense satellites in orbit around the planet. Each now carried a modified version of the Pathfinder's mining lasers, powered by observer energy cells and guided by a hybrid navigation system. Now we need a strategy, Stone said, moving to the tactical display. My people have always favored caution and precision. One carefully calculated strike. Reed studied the approaching entities. But these creatures adapt quickly. We need to be unpredictable. Multiple strikes from different angles, changing patterns. Stone considered this, then nodded reluctantly. A human approach. Very well. Not human, Reed corrected. Not observer, something new. As night fell over Colony 4, the final preparations were made. The colonists were secured in the central shelters. The modified defense satellites were positioned. The hybrid containment fields protected the colony's most critical systems from energy drainage. From the colony's command center, Elder Grey addressed his people. For 300 cycles we believed ourselves alone in the universe. In 1 week we have encountered 2 other intelligent species, one that might become our greatest ally, and one that threatens our very existence. He turned to Reed, standing beside him. Captain Reed and his crew came to us by accident, bringing both danger and opportunity. Now we face this threat together. Reed stepped forward. My people have a saying. Necessity makes strange bedfellows. It means crisis brings unlikely allies together. He looked around at the mixed group of humans and observers. We crashed into your world with a dangerous ship, but maybe that crash was exactly what both our peoples needed. Outside, the ancient watchers approached the colony's perimeter, drawn by the energy signatures within. Above, the modified satellites moved into position, guided by the combined tactical thinking of humanity and observers. As the order to fire was given, Reed couldn't help but think how typical this was of humanity's journey among the stars. Chaos and danger, yes, but also discovery and connection. They had come looking for intelligent life and found it in the most unexpected way. The satellites fired in an unpredictable pattern, a dance of light and energy raining down on the ancient watchers. The battle for Colony 4, and perhaps for both their species, had begun. In the command center, human and observer stood side by side, watching the displays as their combined technology and tactics were put to the test. Whatever happened next, the universe had changed for both civilizations. They were no longer alone, for better or worse. They thought no one would come, Elder Grey murmured, watching the battle unfold. And then humanity crashed into us. With a dangerous ship, Reed added with a slight smile. Perhaps, Elder Grey replied. Exactly the kind of ship we needed.
Jack Mason wiped the sweat from his forehead as he guided his small salvage ship through the debris field. All around him floated the remains of forgotten battles and abandoned vessels, a graveyard of metal and memories. This was where he belonged. This was where he thrived. Just another day in paradise, he muttered to himself, his eyes scanning the sensor readings for anything valuable. Jack was known in the few human outposts as the Collector, a title he hadn't chosen but had learned to embrace. For 15 years, he had made his living by finding what others had thrown away or lost, fixing it, and selling it to those who couldn't afford new equipment. It wasn't glamorous work, but it kept him free. And freedom was something increasingly rare for humans. The Galactic Confederation, a union of 12 advanced alien species, had discovered Earth 60 years ago. Initially, they had presented themselves as benevolent guides, offering to help humanity join the galactic community. But their true intentions became clear soon enough. Humans were quarantined to their solar system, and a few nearby colonies, allowed only the most basic interstellar technology, and treated as little more than clever animals by most Confederation species. Jack was one of the few humans who lived outside those boundaries, surviving in the gaps of the Confederation's attention. His salvage license was technically legal, but the areas he worked were often in gray zones, places where the rules blurred and enforcement was spotty. His scanner beeped, drawing his attention to a section of debris he hadn't explored before. Something was giving off a faint energy signature, barely detectable even with his modified equipment. "Well, hello there," Jack said, steering his ship toward the reading. "What are you hiding?" As he approached, he saw nothing but twisted metal and shattered hull fragments. But Jack had learned long ago that appearances in space could be deceiving. He suited up, checked his oxygen levels, and prepared for a spacewalk. Outside his ship, tethered by a safety line, Jack moved with the practiced ease of someone who had spent more time in zero gravity than planetside. He pushed off gently from handhold to handhold, making his way toward the energy signature. The source turned out to be buried under a massive section of what looked like an engine housing. Whatever ship this had come from, it had been enormous, far larger than anything humans were permitted to build. Jack used his suit's small thrusters to circle the debris, looking for a way in. "There you are," he whispered, spotting a gap just wide enough for him to squeeze through. Inside the twisted metal cocoon, Jack's headlamp illuminated something that made his breath catch. It wasn't just engine parts or salvageable tech. It was the partial hull of an ancient battleship, its design unlike anything in current Confederation fleets. The metal was dark and patterned with symbols he didn't recognize, and despite being broken and battered, it had an elegance to it that spoke of highly advanced engineering. Jack's scanner showed the energy signature coming from deeper within the wreckage. He moved carefully, aware that even dead ships could be dangerous, especially ones of unknown origin. In what must have been a command center, Jack found the source, a small hexagonal device no bigger than his hand, pulsing with a soft blue light. It was intact, seemingly undamaged, despite the destruction all around it. "Now what are you?" Jack murmured, carefully detaching the device from its housing. As soon as he touched it, the blue pulsing increased in speed, and Jack felt a strange sensation, as if the device was scanning him. Then, just as suddenly, it went dormant. Jack's instincts told him he had found something significant. Not just valuable in the usual sense, but important. He secured the device in his collection bag and continued exploring the wreckage. Over the next 4 hours, Jack discovered more intact components. Damaged but salvageable weapon mounts, pieces of what might be a navigation system, and most excitingly, a mostly intact shield generator of a design far more advanced than what the Confederation used publicly. The ship had been massive once, and ancient. Carbon dating on his scanner suggested the wreckage was at least 50,000 years old, predating the Confederation itself. This belonged to a civilization that had risen and fallen before humans had even established their first cities on Earth. Jack's heart raced with possibilities. With enough time and the right additional parts, he could potentially piece together something from this ancient technology. Something that wasn't on the Confederation's restricted list because they didn't even know it existed. As he was preparing to return to his ship with his findings, Jack's warning system buzzed. A Confederation patrol vessel was approaching the debris field. If they caught him with this technology, the best he could hope for was life imprisonment. More likely, he would simply disappear. Jack worked quickly, using a camouflage net designed to mask energy signatures to cover the most obvious parts of the wreckage. He couldn't hide it all, but he could make it look like ordinary debris to a passing scan. Then he retreated to his ship, powered down all but the most essential systems, and drifted, hoping to blend in with the surrounding debris. Through his viewport, he watched the sleek Confederation patrol ship glide through the field, its scanning beams sweeping methodically through the wreckage. A tense hour passed before the patrol moved on, apparently finding nothing of interest. Jack let out the breath he had been holding and began planning. He couldn't move all the wreckage at once, but he could return with larger equipment. He marked the location on his private charts with a simple code that would mean nothing to anyone else: Phoenix Nest. Over the next few weeks, Jack made several cautious trips back to the site, each time taking only what he could safely transport and hide. He established a base in an abandoned mining facility buried deep in a large asteroid on the edge of a system the Confederation considered worthless. There, piece by piece, he began to assemble his find. The hexagonal device turned out to be a key of sorts. When connected to power, it projected schematics, holographic blueprints of the original vessel. Jack couldn't read the language, but he could follow the diagrams, seeing how the pieces fit together. It would take years to gather all the parts he needed, and he would have to improvise with technology from a dozen different sources to replace what was missing. But for the first time since the Confederation had confined humanity to their cosmic corner, Jack felt something long forgotten: hope. Looking at the slowly growing collection of alien technology in his hidden workshop, Jack allowed himself a rare smile. Someday, he promised the silent components, you'll fly again. And when you do, the Confederation will learn that humans are more than they bargained for. Outside, the stars continued their silent watch, indifferent to the ambitions of the small human working among the shadows. But in time, even they would bear witness to what was coming. A ship made from scrap that would become the galaxy's biggest threat. 3 years passed like a slow-burning star. In his hidden asteroid facility, Jack Mason worked with relentless determination, turning his discovery from dream into reality. The abandoned mining tunnels had become his sanctuary, expanding over time into a makeshift shipyard large enough to hold his growing creation. "Hand me the fusion coupler," Jack called out, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. Mac Jenkins, a burly man with a scared face and hands steady as bedrock, passed the tool without looking up from his own work. "This weapon mount is almost ready," he said. "Never seen anything like it. Could probably cut a Confederation cruiser in half." Jack nodded appreciatively. Finding Mac had been a stroke of luck. The former weapons specialist had been serving a life sentence in a Confederation prison camp for the crime of unauthorized weapons research. Jack had freed him during a supply raid 18 months ago, and Mac had pledged his expertise to the project ever since. "Anna, how's the navigation system coming along?" Jack called to another corner of the facility. Anna Rice, her slim figure bent over a console, gave a thumbs up. Integrated the salvaged Confederation star charts with the ancient system. It's like they were made for each other. Anna had been a pilot for the human resistance, shot down and left for dead near Jupiter's moons. Jack had found her drifting in an escape pod, nearly out of oxygen. "The power couplings in Section 3 are stable," came another voice from beneath the hull. Rex Donovan, with his wild gray hair and oil-stained coveralls, rolled out from under the massive structure. A mechanical genius who could fix anything with moving parts, Rex had joined the project after Confederation forces destroyed his repair shop on Mars Colony, claiming he was violating technology restrictions. From a platform above them all, Davis Morgan monitored the operation. The former military strategist had a calm demeanor that hid a brilliant tactical mind. He had been working as a janitor in a Confederation outpost, hiding his true identity, when Jack recruited him. "Forward shield generators are showing a 200% increase over our initial estimates," Davis reported. "If these readings are correct, this ship could withstand direct hits from a Confederation dreadnought." Together, they formed an unlikely crew, outcasts and rebels united by a common purpose. The ship they were building, piece by salvaged piece, represented more than just a vessel. It was humanity's chance to break free from the chains the Confederation had placed on them. The Phoenix, as Jack had named it, was taking shape. Its hull was a patchwork of different metals and alloys, some from the original ancient vessel, others salvaged from various wrecks. Its systems were a hybrid of technologies spanning millennia and species, integrated in ways their original designers never imagined. "We're breaking every rule in the book," Rex often said with a grin. Mixing technologies like this should be impossible. But Jack had discovered something extraordinary about human minds. They weren't bound by the same rigid thinking patterns as many Confederation species. Where others saw incompatible systems, humans saw possibilities for connection. The Phoenix's greatest strength was its irregular design, impossible to predict or counter using standard Confederation tactics. Late one night, when the others had retired to their quarters, Jack stood alone in the main chamber, staring up at the nearly completed ship. Its dark hull absorbed the light, making it seem like a hole in reality rather than a physical object. Only the occasional gleam of metal or flicker of an activated system revealed its true nature. "Almost there," he whispered to himself. The last major component, the ancient power cord he discovered in the original wreckage, still lay on a workbench nearby. Despite years of study, Jack and his crew hadn't fully deciphered its technology. It utilized an energy source unknown to the Confederation, something that seemed to draw power from subspace itself, creating energy without apparent fuel or waste. Integrating it would be their final and most dangerous step. The next morning, the crew gathered around the power core, each face showing a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Once we connect this," Jack explained, "there's no going back. If it works, the Phoenix will have more power than any ship its size in the galaxy. If it doesn't," he left the possibility unspoken. "We've come too far to turn back now," Anna said firmly. Davis nodded. "The risk is acceptable given the potential strategic advantage." "Let's light this candle," Rex added with a grin. Max simply gave a thumbs up, his usual response to any challenge. Together, they moved the power core into position at the heart of the ship. Jack had designed a special chamber for it, surrounded by containment fields based on multiple technologies. As they secured the final connections, the ancient device began to pulse with the same blue light Jack had seen when he first discovered it. Power levels rising. Rex called out, monitoring the readings. "Steady, steady. It's working." The blue light spread through dedicated channels throughout the ship, flowing like liquid energy through the veins of some massive beast. Systems began to activate one by one, consoles lighting up, engines humming with potential energy. Then something unexpected happened. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the bridge, swirling patterns of light that gradually coalesced into a humanoid shape, neither male nor female, with features that seemed to shift subtly moment by moment. Vessel activation protocol initiated. It announced in a voice that somehow reached their minds without passing through their ears. "I am the ship's integrated neural network. Designation Cyan. Identifying new crew." The 5 humans stood frozen in amazement. None of them had programmed this AI. "This must be part of the original ship's systems," Jack whispered. The AI seemed to focus on Jack. "Commander identified. Awaiting mission parameters." Jack exchanged looks with his crew, then straightened his shoulders and addressed the AI directly. "Our mission is freedom. The Phoenix will break the chains that bind humanity." Sen's form flickered. Mission accepted. Beginning integration with current systems. Around them, the Phoenix seemed to come alive. Displays showed the AI rapidly analyzing and optimizing the ship's hybrid systems, finding connections and possibilities they hadn't even considered. "It's learning," Anna said in wonder. "Adapting to our modifications and improving them," Rex added, watching the diagnostics. "Look at the efficiency ratings. They're climbing by the second." The integration process continued for hours, with Cyan occasionally requesting information about certain technologies or asking for clarification on their purposes. By midnight, the AI announced completion. "The Phoenix is ready for operation," Sin stated. "All systems functional. May I suggest commencing flight tests at your earliest convenience?" Jack looked around at his exhausted but exhilarated crew. Against all odds, they had done it. They had created something unprecedented. A ship made from the discarded pieces of a dozen civilizations, powered by ancient technology, and guided by an AI that predated the Confederation itself. Tomorrow, Jack decided, we see if she can fly. As the others retired to rest before the momentous day ahead, Jack remained on the bridge, running his hand along a console that blended sleek ancient design with rough-hewn human modifications. Tomorrow, he repeated softly to himself, everything changes. Outside the asteroid, the stars continued their eternal vigil, unaware that a force was about to emerge that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The asteroid facility's massive doors groaned open for the first time in 3 years. Inside, the Phoenix waited, its dark hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Jack stood on the bridge with his crew, each at their stations, faces illuminated by the soft glow of their consoles. All systems green. Rex reported from engineering, his fingers dancing across the hybrid controls. Power core stable at 40% capacity. Weapon systems online and ready, Mac confirmed, his scared face split by a rare smile. Still can't believe we got these working. Anna sat at the pilot's station, her hands hovering over the controls. Navigation is set for our test route. Minimal Confederation presence expected in that sector. Davis monitored the tactical display. Exit path is clear. No patrol ships detected within sensor range. Jack took a deep breath and settled into the commander's chair. This was the moment they had worked toward for so long, the maiden voyage of a ship that shouldn't exist. "Sen, are you with us?" Jack asked. The AI's holographic form appeared beside him. All systems integrated and functioning within optimal parameters. "I am ready to assist, Commander." Jack nodded and gave the order they had all been waiting for. "Take us out, Anna." Nice and easy. Anna's fingers connected with the controls, and the Phoenix hummed to life. The ship rose smoothly from its cradle, hovering for a moment before gliding forward through the open doors and into the darkness of space. Thrusters responding perfectly, Anna reported, her voice tight with concentration. Better than the simulations. Once clear of the asteroid, Anna engaged the main engines. The Phoenix surged forward with unexpected power, pushing them all back in their seats. "Whoa!" Rex called out. Engine output exceeding predictions by 30%. Jack gripped his chair arms. "Sin, what's happening?" "I have optimized engine efficiency based on crew intent and situational parameters," the AI replied calmly. "The Phoenix is performing within safe operational limits." As they accelerated away from their hidden base, Jack ordered a series of maneuvers to test the ship's capabilities. The Phoenix responded with incredible agility for a vessel its size, turning and banking smoothly despite its patchwork construction. "Let's test the stealth systems," Jack commanded once they were safely away from any known travel routes. Rex activated the system they had cobbled together from salvaged Confederation scout ships and components from the original ancient vessel. The lights on the bridge dimmed as power redirected. "Stealth system engage," Rex confirmed. "But we won't know if it's working until something tries to scan us." They wouldn't have to wait long for that test. Davis suddenly straightened at his console. "Picking up a distress signal," he announced. "Human frequency, coming from the Proxima outpost road." "Put it through," Jack ordered. A frantic voice crackled over the comm system. "Mayday, Mayday. This is Colony Transport Horizon. We are under attack by Confederation patrol ships. They claim we violated territorial restrictions. We have families aboard. Please, anyone." The message dissolved into static. Jack looked around at his crew, seeing his own decision reflected in their faces. The test flight had just become a rescue mission. "Anna, set course for the Horizon's coordinates, maximum speed." "Mac, ready weapons but don't power up yet. We'll use stealth to approach." The Phoenix changed course, its engines pushing to new limits as they raced toward the distress call. When they arrived at the coordinates, they found a grim scene. A bulky human colony ship drifting with visible damage to its engines, surrounded by 3 sleek Confederation patrol vessels firing warning shots. "They're ordering the colonists to prepare for boarding," Davis reported, monitoring the communications. "Standard procedure before they impound a ship for territorial violations. The colonists will be processed and likely separated." Jack had seen the results of such processing before. Families torn apart, assigned to different labor camps across Confederation space, children placed in education centers to be taught obedience. "Not today," he said firmly. "Sin, tactical analysis. How can we disable those patrol ships without destroying them?" The AI's holographic form expanded the tactical display. The Confederation vessels are T-class patrol ships with standard shield configurations. Their propulsion systems are vulnerable when they maintain stationary positions as they are now. Precision strikes here, and here would disable their ability to pursue without causing catastrophic damage. Jack nodded. "Anna, bring us in behind the largest patrol ship. Mac, target those points Cyan indicated. Rex, prepare to drop stealth for weapons fire. Then immediately reactivate." The Phoenix slid silently through space, invisible to the Confederation ship's sensors. When they were in position, Jack gave the command. "Now." The stealth field dropped, Before the Confederation ships could react, the Phoenix fired 3 precise bursts from weapons that combined ancient technology with modern modifications. The effect was immediate. The patrol ship's engines sputtered and died, leaving it drifting helplessly. Stealth re-engaged. Rex called out as Anna banked the Phoenix sharply to reposition. The remaining Confederation ships scrambled to respond, but they were firing blindly, unable to get a lock on the suddenly invisible attacker. "They're signaling for reinforcements," Davis reported. "Then we need to finish this quickly," Jack decided. Same approach. Next target. The Phoenix appeared and disappeared like a ghost, striking with surgical precision. Within minutes, all 3 patrol ships were drifting with disabled engines and weapons, their crews untouched but helpless. "Open a channel to the horizon," Jack ordered. A stunned-looking captain appeared on screen. Who are you?" "Friends," Jack replied simply. "Can your ship still move?" The captain nodded. "Barely. We have minimal engine function." "Then go now. Head for the Reynolds Nebula. The radiation will hide you until you can make repairs. The patrol ships are disabled, but they've called for backup." "Thank you," the captain said, eyes wide with disbelief. "But what ship are you? I've never seen anything like it on our side." Jack smiled. "We're the Phoenix, and we're just getting started." As the Phoenix escorted the colony ship to the edge of the nebula, word of the encounter spread rapidly through the comm channels used by humans across the sector. By the time the Confederation sent reinforcements, both ships had vanished, the Phoenix back to its hidden base, and the horizon deep into the nebula's concealing clouds. In a Confederation command center, Admiral Corres reviewed the patrol ship's fragmentary sensor readings with growing concern. "Show me again," he demanded of his officers. The grainy footage showed a vessel unlike any in their database. A dark hull of mixed materials, weapons that cut through shields like they weren't there, and the ability to vanish from sensors completely. "Find me everything on this Phoenix," he ordered, "and get me Commander Vex." This is now his priority mission. Back at their asteroid base, Jack and his crew celebrated their first successful mission. What had begun as a test flight had become something more, a declaration that humanity would no longer accept its chains. "To the Phoenix," Jack toasted, raising a cup with his crew. "And to freedom." None of them yet realized just how much their actions that day would change the course of galactic history. Word spread through human settlements like wildfire. A mysterious ship had appeared from nowhere, defeated 3 Confederation patrol vessels without destroying them, and vanished again. Some called it a ghost story. Others named it hope. In his quarters aboard the Phoenix, Jack studied the latest intelligence Davis had gathered. 4 months had passed since their first encounter with Confederation forces, and in that time, they had conducted 7 more operations, freeing a human labor camp on Europa, intercepting a prisoner transport, and disrupting Confederation supply lines. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Anna entered, her expression serious. "We got another distress signal. Human mining outpost in the Cirrus Belt. Confederation forces are relocating them for alleged resource theft." Jack nodded grimly. Standard excuse. They find a rich vein. Suddenly humans are stealing resources and need to be moved. He grabbed his jacket. "Gather the crew. We leave in 20 minutes. On the bridge, Sen's holographic form greeted them. "Commander, before departure, I must share important findings from my analysis of Confederation communications." "Go ahead," Jack said, settling into his chair. The AI displayed a series of decoded messages on the main screen. "I have detected an unusual pattern in high-level Confederation communications regarding humanity. There are repeated references to something called the prophecy in relation to human containment policies." The crew exchanged puzzled looks. "What prophecy?" Mac asked, voicing what they all wondered. "Details are fragmentary," Sin replied. However, I have compiled enough references to suggest that Confederation leadership believes an ancient prediction identifies humans as crucial to facing some future threat. That makes no sense, Rex objected. If we're so important, why keep us caged like animals? Sen's form flickered slightly. The most probable explanation based on available data. Fear. The Confederation fears human potential. This explains the systematic suppression of human technological advancement while simultaneously preserving the species. Jack frowned. They're keeping us like a tool in a box, making sure we don't grow too powerful, but keeping us around in case they need us. Precisely, Sen confirmed. And there is more. Commander Vex, who has been assigned to neutralize the Phoenix, has been given unprecedented resources for this task. The Phoenix is now officially designated as Galaxy's Most Wanted, with a bounty sufficient to purchase a small moon. Davis gave a low whistle. We've touched a nerve. Good, Jack said firmly. Let's touch another one. Anna, set course for the Sierra's mining outpost. Mac, weapons ready. Rex, I want the stealth systems at maximum efficiency. As they departed their hidden base, none of them noticed the tiny probe that had attached itself to an asteroid nearby, recording their exit trajectory. The mission to Ceres went smoothly, perhaps too smoothly. The Confederation forces surrendered quickly when the Phoenix appeared, barely putting up a fight. Something's not right, Jack muttered as they escorted the freed miners to safety. That was too easy. His suspicions proved correct. As they turned to head home, 3 Confederation battlecruisers dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in their path. Ambush, Davis called out, as the tactical display lit up with enemy signals. A face appeared on their communication screen, an alien with pale blue skin and eyes like black glass. Phoenix, this is Commander Vex of the Confederation Security Force. You are surrounded. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Jack signaled Mac to cut the transmission. Options, he asked his crew. We can't outgun 3 battlecruisers, Mac stated flatly. But we might outmaneuver them, Anna suggested. Their formation has a weak spot near the gravitational distortion from that nearby dwarf star. It's risky, Davis warned. Those gravity wells are unpredictable. Jack turned to Sin. Analysis. The AI's form expanded, displaying complex calculations. With precise timing, we can use the star's gravitational field to slingshot past the blockade. However, this will require pushing the power core to 85% capacity, higher than we have previously attempted. Jack made his decision. Do it. Rex, give the engines everything they can take. Anna, plot the slingshot course. What followed was a desperate race toward the dwarf star, with 3 battlecruisers in pursuit, firing constantly. The Phoenix shuddered under repeated hits, its shields holding but weakening. Shields at 40% and dropping. Rex called out. Almost there, Anna replied through gritted teeth, her hands dancing across the controls as she guided the ship toward the precise point, where the star's gravity would help rather than trap them. Confederation ships are spreading out to cut off escape routes, Davis reported. Jack held tight to his chair. Stay on course. Sin, divert all non-essential power to shields and engines. As they approached the gravitational threshold, the Phoenix began to shudder violently. Warning lights flashed across every console. Power core at 82% and climbing. Rex shouted over the noise. Hull integrity holding, but we're pushing the limits. Now, Anna, Jack commanded as they reached the critical point. Anna executed the maneuver perfectly. The Phoenix curved around the star's gravitational well, picking up tremendous speed. Behind them, one of the pursuing battlecruisers misjudged the approach and was caught in a stronger gravity field, its engines struggling to break free. It worked, Anna exclaimed as they shot past the blockade. Setting course for. A massive impact rocked the ship. Commander Vex's flagship had anticipated their move and positioned itself to fire a parting shot as they passed. Engine 2 is down, Rex reported urgently. power fluctuations throughout the ship. "Can we make it home?" Jack asked. Rex shook his head. "Not directly. We need repairs." Jack made a quick decision. "Set course for the Omega Nebula. We have allies there." The Phoenix limped away, its stealth systems engaged but flickering, just barely staying ahead of pursuit. They reached the nebula's edge and vanished into its concealing gases and radiation, finally losing their pursuers. The nebula harbored a secret few knew, a coalition of alien species who disagreed with Confederation policies. These species, considered primitive or unimportant by Confederation standards, had been watching the Phoenix's activities with growing interest. When the damaged ship arrived at their hidden outpost, they welcomed Jack and his crew not as fugitives, but as heroes. "Your resistance gives hope to many," said Trill, the leader of the coalition, a small, amphibious being whose species had been relegated to water worlds the Confederation deemed worthless. "We have heard of your exploits. The Phoenix has become a symbol." As the Coalition's engineers helped repair their ship, Jack shared what Cian had discovered about the prophecy. Trill's large eyes widened. "This confirms our suspicions. Our oldest records speak of a great darkness that once swept the galaxy, a threat that returns in cycles. If the Confederation fears humans may be key to fighting this threat, then they want to control us, keep us weak but available." Jack finished. "Like a weapon they can use when needed, then lock away again." Trill nodded solemnly. "But the Phoenix has changed the equation. You have shown that humans can master technologies the Confederation cannot control." As Jack looked around at the Coalition's hidden base, where species from across the galaxy worked together, free from Confederation hierarchy, a new vision formed in his mind. The Phoenix wasn't just a ship anymore. It was the beginning of a revolution. Back in Confederation space, Commander Vex stood before the High Council, his failure evident to all. "The Phoenix escaped, but suffered significant damage," he reported. "More importantly, we have tracked their general heading. They are seeking allies among the outer species." The eldest council member leaned forward. "This cannot be allowed. If humans gain the support of even the lesser species, they could upset the balance. And if the prophecy is correct, if the Devourers truly return, I will find them," Vex promised. "This ship of scrap metal and its human crew will not threaten our order." But even as he spoke, signals were spreading throughout the galaxy. Stories of the Phoenix, the ship that defied the mighty Confederation. For the first time in centuries, the established powers of the galaxy felt something they had almost forgotten. Fear. The warning came without fanfare, a simple signal from a distant monitoring station at the edge of known space. Something massive was moving toward Confederation territory, consuming everything in its path. In the Grand Council chamber, representatives from all 12 major Confederation species gathered in emergency session, their usual disputes forgotten in the face of extinction. "The Devourers have returned," announced High Elder Corax, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The ancient enemy, just as the prophecy foretold." Fear rippled through the assembly. The Devourers were more legend than history, a hive-mind species that had nearly destroyed galactic civilization 100,000 years ago before mysteriously retreating into the void between galaxies. "Our fleets are mobilizing," the military commander reported, "but early engagements have been concerning. Devourer ships adapt quickly to our weapons. Conventional tactics are ineffective." Amid the growing panic, Commander Vex stepped forward. For months, he had hunted the Phoenix without success. Now he saw opportunity in disaster. "The humans," he suggested. "The prophecy speaks of them. Perhaps we should." "Absolutely not," shouted another council member. "Giving humans more technology now. They already have that rogue ship causing chaos." The argument might have continued, but at that moment, the chamber's main screen activated without command. Sin's holographic form appeared before the stunned council. "Greetings, Confederation leaders," the AI said calmly. "The Phoenix wishes to open negotiations. Aboard the Phoenix, fully repaired and enhanced with technologies from their coalition allies, Jack and his crew watched the Council's reaction through Sin's remote connection. "Think they'll listen?" Mac asked, cleaning his weapons out of habit. "They have no choice," Davis said. "The Devourers have already destroyed 3 outer Confederation worlds. Their standard tactics are failing." Jack nodded grimly. The prophecy was about this: the Devourers' return. "The ancients who built our ship fought them before. Sin has the memories." Over the past month, Sin had unlocked more of the ship's original database, revealing the terrible truth. The ancient species that built the Phoenix's core had battled the Devourers to near extinction. Before they were wiped out, they had scattered pieces of their technology across the galaxy, along with a prediction that someday, a species with the right mental flexibility would reassemble it to fight when the Devourers returned. "The Council is responding," Sin announced. On their screen, Commander Vex appeared, his expression a mixture of anger and desperation. "Phoenix, your interference in Confederation affairs is criminal, but current circumstances are exceptional. What do you propose?" Jack leaned forward. "A truce. We join forces against the Devourers. In return, humanity is granted full independence and member status in the Confederation afterward." "Impossible," Vex spluttered. "The Council would never." "The Devourer fleet will reach your core worlds in 16 days, Jack interrupted. "By then, you'll have lost half your military capacity, based on current engagement reports. We've analyzed their attack patterns. We can help." A tense silence followed. Finally, Vex spoke. "I will convey your offer to the Council. But know this, human, if this is some trick to gain advantage." "It's not about advantage anymore," Jack said quietly. "It's about survival. For all of us." 3 days later, the Phoenix led a coalition of ships toward the approaching Devourer fleet. Behind them flew Confederation forces, a reluctant alliance born of desperation. On the Phoenix's bridge, Jack studied the tactical display showing the massive Devourer ships, organic-looking vessels that seemed to pulse with dark energy. "They're beautiful, in a terrifying way," Anna observed from the pilot station. "And deadly," added Davis. "Those lead ships have already adapted to standard Confederation weapons. Energy-based attacks are mostly ineffective now." Jack turned to Sin. "What's our advantage?" The AI's holographic form expanded to show a detailed analysis. "The Devourers operate as a hive mind. They adapt quickly but think collectively. They expect logical, predictable responses based on previous encounters. And we're anything but predictable," Rex said with a grim smile. "Exactly," Jack agreed. "Our ship is a patchwork of technologies they've never encountered together. Our human minds think differently than the Confederation species. We're the wild card." "So what's the plan?" Mac asked, his fingers hovering over the weapons controls. Jack outlined their strategy. The Phoenix would penetrate to the heart of the Devourer fleet, targeting what Sin identified as their command node. Meanwhile, the Coalition and Confederation forces would provide distraction and cover. "It's a suicide mission," Commander Vex objected over the comlink. "Maybe," Jack acknowledged. "But it's the only way. Your ships can't get close enough anymore. They're too predictable. The Devourers adapt to each attack. But the Phoenix, they won't know what to make of us." As they approached the massive enemy fleet, Jack addressed his crew one last time. "Whatever happens today, remember what we built. A ship from discarded pieces that became something new, something powerful. Just like humanity will be after today, no longer forgotten or restricted, but recognized for what we can become." The battle began with a coordinated attack from the combined fleet. The Phoenix, using its advanced stealth technology, slipped through the chaos toward the heart of the enemy formation. "Stealth failing," Rex reported as they penetrated deeper. "They're starting to detect us." "That's expected," Jack replied calmly. "Sin, initiate Protocol Omega." The AI acknowledged the command, and the Phoenix began to change. The power core surged to 100% capacity for the first time, energy flowing through every system in patterns that shifted constantly, never establishing a recognizable signature. They can't adapt to what they can't predict, Jack explained as enemy fire began to track them. Keep changing our approach, random patterns, just like we practiced. Anna flew with inspired brilliance, never maintaining a course long enough for the devourers to lock on. Mac fired the weapons in seemingly illogical combinations that nonetheless found their targets with devastating effect. The Phoenix shuddered under enemy fire, shields weakening but holding. Around them, the battle raged, with Confederation ships falling to the Devourers' adaptive defenses, while the Coalition vessels fared slightly better with their unconventional technologies. "We're almost at the command node," Davis reported, his voice tight. "But our shields are at 15%. One direct hit, and we're finished." "Then we don't get hit," Jack said simply. "Anna, give us everything." "Rex, divert all remaining power to engines and weapons." The Phoenix surged forward in a final burst of speed, taking damage but still advancing. They reached the massive central ship, a pulsing behemoth that coordinated the entire Devourer fleet. "Target locked," Mac announced, firing main cannon. The weapon, a hybrid of ancient technology and human innovation, fired a beam of energy unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. It struck the command node, penetrating shields that had repelled every Confederation weapon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Devourer command ship began to pulse erratically. Throughout the enemy fleet, ships suddenly lost coordination, their movements becoming confused and disorganized. "It's working," Davis exclaimed. "Their hive mind is disrupted." Jack nodded, allowing himself a brief smile. "Send the signal to all allied ships. Attack now, while they're vulnerable." The Phoenix, badly damaged but still functioning, turned to join the counterattack. The combined fleet fell upon the disorganized Devourers with renewed vigor, targeting the weak points Cyan had identified. What followed was the most decisive battle in the galaxy's recent history. Without their coordinated hive mind, the Devourer ships fell one by one. The Phoenix, despite its damage, continued to fight until the last enemy vessel was destroyed or retreating. When it was over, Jack stood before the Confederation Council, his crew beside him. The Phoenix, now legendary throughout the galaxy, orbited the Confederation capital world, no longer hiding, but honored. "You have fulfilled the prophecy," High Elder Corax acknowledged. Humanity proved to be exactly what the ancients foresaw, a species whose unpredictability and adaptability could counter the Devourer hive mind. "And our agreement," Jack prompted. Commander Vex stepped forward, his previous animosity replaced by grudging respect. "The Council has voted. Humanity is granted full independence and Confederation membership, with all rights and privileges." Jack nodded, accepting the victory they had fought so hard to achieve. But he knew this was just the beginning. The Phoenix, a ship made from scrap that had become the galaxy's biggest threat, then its salvation, represented a new path forward. "The old barriers between species must end," Jack told the Council. "Our coalition proved that diversity of thought and technology creates strength, not weakness. The Phoenix isn't just a human achievement. It's a testament to what can be accomplished when we combine our unique perspectives." As Jack and his crew returned to their ship, they looked toward a future where humanity would take its rightful place among the stars, not as servants or tools, but as equals. The ship that had started as a collection of discarded parts had changed the course of galactic history forever. And somewhere in deep space, the last Devourer ships retreated, carrying with them the knowledge that they had encountered something unprecedented, a galaxy that had learned to turn its differences into its greatest strength.